Thanks for downloading the regular podcast from Freedom in the Air. If you want to find out more, please visit freedomintheair.org, but not before you listen to this week's podcast about the inspirational Australian quadriplegic pilot Dave Jacka. This episode of Freedom in the Air's podcast is supported by Sennheiser Aviation. Dave Jacka, thank you so much for giving us this chance to learn all about you and what you're doing and how you're going to change the world. When I first heard about you, I was really inspired and you gave me a lot of food for thought. And I wanted to explore many sort of tangents to you and what you're aiming to achieve through this Australian tour. So first of all, you spent the first 19 years of your life as an able-bodied person, and then through, I believe, a motorbike accident, your world changed. What were your personal belief systems as a person without disability, and how did that change when you experienced life with disability?
That's a good question. I think, when I was 19, I was 6'3". I thought I was bulletproof. I could do anything physically, and I had my dreams, my goals. I thought my life was just going to go along, and that would be that. But when I had my accident in 1988, on July the 10th, where I come off a motorbike, was thrown headfirst into a tree, shattering the fifth vertebrae in my neck, leaving me with high-level quadriplegia. My life as I knew it was over. The way I see it, I've had my first life as an able-bodied person, and when I had my accident, that was my second life. When I was left with quadriplegia, my whole, all my dreams, my goals were crushed. The life I had was over. For me, at the time, when you're left with such a severe disability where you're lying in bed, you've got no movement. I can't move my fingers. I've got limited arm function. I can't move my armpits down. And also, I can't regulate my body temperature. You try and picture what your life's going to be like when you finally get up in a wheelchair and go home. And for me, I couldn't see a future at the time. My life was over. I didn't know what life was going to be like because I didn't know anyone that had quadriplegia, my level anyway, that was out working or doing anything. But my belief system, I suppose, is it's changed. I think before my accident, I thought I could do everything. After my accident, that's where I had to figure out, I suppose, number one, who I was, because I lost my identity, with my having the disability, from being an able-bodied person. When I went home, I never thought I could get out of. I never thought I'd be able to get myself out of my wheelchair in the bed. Because when I went home, I had my family having to put me in the bed at night, and carers to give me a hand to get up in the morning. So it wasn't until probably a year down the track when I just set myself to school trying to get myself out of my chair in the bed, and it took me 2 years to finally work out how to do it, to get enough strength and finally do it. And I never thought I could actually do it. But when I achieved that, I realised that I was only limited by what I thought I could do. It was just that simple thought that if you give things a go and just have an open mind and just try and stick at it and persist at it, you can achieve far more than what you think you can.
Which life do you believe has made you stronger and giving you a better perspective of the world?
They're both equally as important for me. I can only talk about myself because I'm the only one that's lived my life. I can't talk for anyone else. I consider myself lucky in a way because I've had the opportunity to see the world and live in a world as an able-bodied person. And now I've got the opportunity to live in a world where I suppose you could say your life is a lot more challenging. But having said that, I've had opportunities that I never thought I would ever get. For example, Won a gold medal at the Oceania Shooting Championships in 91, and I went to Paralympics in 96 for wheelchair rugby. And so I've had experiences which I would never have got being in my first life. Even the bad experiences or things which you hate at that point in time, when you break your neck and you're lying in hospital and you're feeling miserable. It's all those experiences and they're probably the more important ones, because they're the ones that shape who you are, and also give you the determination when things get tough to stick at it and continue on. When you have, I suppose when you have these challenges, you realise you can overcome them, and it's just a matter of having an open mind and never giving up.
Are you always a confident person, or was there a period of time in your early days as a young man where you had to reignite that hunger in your stomach and indeed not allow whatever change that's happened for you to lose your confidence, or was it a struggle to rebuild your confidence?
Look, don't get me wrong. I am as at times. Certainly, many times, even now, I don't have the confidence to. I feel very. I wouldn't say inferior, but I lack the confidence at times. The difference between someone that lacks the confidence and then still gets up and gives something a go, that's probably the difference between someone that has confidence and someone that doesn't, because even if you don't have the confidence and you give it a go, that gives you confidence. It doesn't matter how it turns out, Certainly when I had my accident, my confidence was blown. I didn't know what my life was going to be. I was this 21-year-old or 20-year-old that was going out with mates, getting drunk, having a great time and chasing girls, and then suddenly my parents and my sisters are putting me in the bed at night, and that's so that destroys your confidence. It destroys the identity of who you are. It was just those little goals, those little things that you try to achieve to get your life back on track. For example, when I had my accident, I had to relearn how to feed myself, and then to brushing my teeth, to brushing my hair, and trying to get a top on. It was all these little goals that I set for myself that over time gave me the confidence. Like even on this flight around Australia I'm doing now, I tell you, there have been times when my confidence has been blown, has been shot. But it's a matter of getting back in that seat and giving it a go and not giving up.
From those small steps to rebuild yourself, to building your castles in the sky, what was your very first flying memory, and when did you know that you wanted to become a commander of an aeroplane?
Commander of an aeroplane. Look, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to fly. I was mad on planes, mad on flying when I was a kid. But when I had my, when I was a kid, I remember going up in a little Cessna with my dad, who had a friend who had his pilot's license, whatever. And but when I had my accident, I never thought it would ever be a possibility. Not with my level of function. In 2005, when I saw this aircraft, a motorbike trike, I just fell in love with it. I just had to do it. It was this basically it's a big powered hang glider, and that was when, that was I suppose the turning point for me, when I saw this aircraft and I thought, it's pretty simple to fly.
So how did you turn possibility into reality?
Good question. I gave it a go. Well, I never knew whether I could do it or not. My greatest achievement that I've ever done was to get myself out of my wheelchair in the bed, because it made me realise that I was only limited by what I thought I could do. All the challenges, all the problems about how I was going to fly it. Well, they're only problems, and most problems can be solved. One of the biggest challenges for me was actually trying to find an instructor who was willing to teach me to fly. The first time I went up for a flight in one of those motorbike trikes, instructor I came across, talking him into actually taking me up, even though he did it reluctantly. He took me up from first trial flight, and we took off, did a couple of turns, and he said, "Okay, let's go back down." And at the time I thought, that was pretty quick. Came back down and he said, "You're not going to be able to fly a trike. You don't have enough strength, so go find something else." And when he said that to me, I was absolutely devastated. I gave up on my dream of ever flying. He said I couldn't do it, and I believed him. And so it wasn't until a month or so later when I was chatting to my sister, and this is a bit corny, but I always remember what she said. She said, I was telling her about, how the instructor would say I couldn't do it, and she said, "You'll work out a way, you always do." When she said that, it was just like, switching a light. Suddenly my self-doubt disappeared, and I once again could think beyond what seemed impossible and open my mind up to the possibilities. And so for me, I had to find somebody else, and I ended up finding a guy after a lot of phone calls, a lot of disappointments. I ended up getting in touch with a guy called Steve Ruffles down here in Victoria, and he had a totally different attitude. He said, "Yeah, sure, we'll give it a go." And so when I caught up with him, I made my adaptation, put it on the aircraft, and I went up, did 4 hours with him. And he said, "Look, if you get an aircraft that you're fully modified to suit your disability," he was pretty confident I could do it. So for me, that was it. I just went out and bought a second-hand aircraft off him and designed the adaptations to suit my disability, and he taught me to fly. So for me, one of the biggest challenges wasn't so much my physical ability; it was more about other people's attitudes.
And I totally agree with you. Attitude is incredibly important. So you started off on microlights and then you went on to fixed wing. What was the driving force that dictated what pilot's license you were able to attain depending on the medical certificate that the Australian Aviation Authority were able to issue?
Well, for me, I don't have a PPL. I have a recreational license, a recreational certificate called in Australia here. So effectively what that means is that if you are eligible to drive a motor vehicle, then you are allowed to fly a recreational aircraft. And so my aircraft is classified as a light sport, LSA, and that comes under the recreational category. So I haven't had to worry about the medicals and that sort of thing. Although, however, for this around Australia flight I'm doing now, I tried to get an exemption through at CASA, our regulatory authority, and I had to go through the whole medical thing and everything, which I have done and passed. In this country, it can be very challenging for anyone with a disability to pass the medical.
And how did you feel the very first time after 17 hours the wheels left the ground and you were on your own doing your first solo?
It was probably one of the scariest but most exciting experiences of my life. When I did my solo, I was in Bright, Victoria, which is in the Alpine country. And so you're flying through valleys, and it was warm in summer, and it was just a beautiful, calm night. So it was definitely magnificent. But it's funny because when I was up there, I was thinking, hang on, you're enjoying it, then you have a bit of a kick back to reality, and you realise, hang on, I'm up here by myself. There's no instructor, and now I'm going to get this thing on the ground. So so that was an interesting moment when that thought went through my mind.
And in terms of the practicalities or the practical aspects of your training, for example, you had to do the cross-country sort of qualification flight. Did that include landing away at several airfields? And if so, how did you sort of get out at the other end with your chair?
Well, when I did my endorsement for the microlight, you actually didn't need to get out. All you had to do was you had to do 3 NAVs, and basically you did two with an instructor, and then you had to do 1 by yourself. And so effectively what I was went with an instructor, we flew around, landed, you navigated, landed, and then you took off again. So when I did my solo nav, I had to go down and land, and when I got back, he asked me questions about what I saw, because there's a couple of things that were unique to this area, just to ensure that I actually went to where I was meant to be going.
What transferable skills did you take from aviation to other aspects of your life? So what did you learn from aviation that you could then transfer to the other world?
one of the important things, especially for me, because I had to design my own adaptations to suit my disability. There was no adaptations I could use that you could buy off the shelf that I could use for the microlight or the Jabiru that I ended up getting an endorsement for and fly now. Certainly from aviation, apart from the your general knowledge and experiences, I think it's one of your problem solving skills. Aviation certainly is about solving problems. It's about responsibility. It's about making the right decisions. From my perspective, I think number one, there's problem solving skills. Plus, also, it's about risk management.
So, what annoys you?
That's an interesting question. I haven't ever thought about that.
Well, for me,
there's not a lot that does really annoy me. I suppose it's about if we didn't like every little thing, then we got annoyed by every little thing, then I think we'd be pretty unhappy. I think it's about, for me, it's about keeping things in perspective.
So tell me, Dave, you chose the Jabiru aeroplane. I'm curious as to why you chose that aeroplane, considering that it's a high wing, and I'm not sure whether the spar may limit your access with the chair to get up close to the door. So how does this aeroplane best work for you as a pilot?
You hit the nail on the head there. It's about the wing strut, and the thing on the Jabiru, the wing strut is behind the door.
Brilliant. Right.
So are the wheels. So it gives you clear access to get into the aircraft. So when I looked at flying a fixed wing aircraft, I looked at lots and lots, and there was a number of criteria that I wanted, that I needed for my aircraft. And number one, I wanted it to do at least 100 knots. Number two, it had to be enclosed with a heater. Especially with my disability, I can't regulate body temperature. So it had to be enclosed with a heater, and it had to have enough easy access to get in, and having the wing strap behind the door. Plus also, I needed good luggage capacity, so I could put a wheelchair in gear, plus also a passenger. And the only aircraft that suited all that was the Jabiru. And it's great. It's a great cross-country machine. The control column is in the centre console, so it's out of the way of your legs.
For you to fly independently, you've had to create modifications to this LSA in terms of your hand controls for the ailerons, rudder, and then the throttle management. Have the requirements for certification and indeed modifications been easier to achieve than had it been for a non-LSA category aeroplane?
Well, if it was GA, which is general aviation in this country, you would never do these modifications. They wouldn't allow it, or if they did, it would be so expensive to get the certification that it's just not practical. So one of the good things about the LSA in this country is that if you get the manufacturer to approve your modifications, then that's fine. That's all you got to do. So because the manufacturer wears the liability. So for me, what I had to do, I inquired with Jabiru first, and I said, look, I want to buy an aircraft. This is my situation. And they said, look, send through the design drawings and we'll look at those. And the agreement was that if the design was fine and they thought it would work, that they would approve it, and then I'll buy an aircraft off them. I have 6% of my physical function working. I have no finger function. I have limited arm function as a biceps, but no triceps. Can't move my armpits down. Also, I can't regulate my body temperature. So there's no adaptations I could buy off the shelf that I could use to fly with the Jabiru. So I designed my own adaptations to suit my disability. To give you a bit of a rundown of what my adaptations are, and because I don't have any feet function, I took the pedals off, and I converted that to a lever, which is, so I have a lever on my left-hand side right next to my knees, and if I push it forward, it yaws the nose of the plane right, pull it back, yaws the plane nose of the plane left.
And is that the same for, therefore, on the ground for the nose steering?
Correct, yeah. That controls the rudder plus also front nose wheel.
So you found a simple forward backwards for left and right on your left hand.
Yes.
What then does the ailerons and what does the elevator?
Okay, the elevator and ailerons are on the control column, which are on the centre console, and that's basically like a U-shaped post, and so it allows anyone to fly it from either side. So all I have there, because I don't have any finger function, and I have these two posts installed. So what it does, if you're looking at it, you've got three posts. You wrap your hand, or you slide your fingers over the middle post, which is the control column, and then as you slide down, you have two posts, one on either side of your wrist. And what that does, that allows me to lock my hands in place. So I can move the control column forward, back, left and right, and still slide my hand out so I can adjust the instruments or whatever. When you're flying, it's even take off, whatever, I've got my left hand utilised plus my right. To do the throttle, I have a tube on my mic boom. So I suck on the tube, throttles the engine down, blow on the tube, throttles the engine up. So I can come in for crosswind landing, be full rudder, one wing down to the wind, and still be controlling the throttle as required. So it's I can remain in full control of the aircraft at all times.
When I first got my pilot's license, I had a feeling of freedom and I had a feeling of liberation and I had a feeling that I could only experience the boundless possibilities that I only got from aviation. So why did you set up on a wing and a chair?
I've been in the chair almost 25 years. And over those years, I've had the physical challenges. I've had to overcome many of those, and daily, you're always overcoming physical challenges. But at times, for me to go back to work, for me, just to go shopping and buy some clothes, or and in particular, learn to fly. It hasn't always been my physical disability that was a limitation. It's been some people's attitudes. When I first did my first solo back in 2006, I wanted to fly around Australia. It was going to be a huge personal challenge for me, but what I wanted to do, I wanted to change people's attitudes. I wanted to show that someone with a disability don't judge a book by its cover. And its mission is to raise the public's expectation of what people with disabilities can achieve and also inspire all. With On a Wing and a Chair, what I wanted to do to demonstrate that was to fly around Australia. And this will be a world first. No one's ever done it before.
So this idea to circumnavigate Australia, 16,000 kilometres, how many hours did you have as a pilot in command before you embarked on this route?
Well, I have about 170 hours in a microlight trike, and I also have about, before I started this, probably would have been about 430 hours in a fixed wing.
So what was the hardest aspect of setting up the tour? What were the things that you have to organise, and how long did the preparation take before you were ready to go?
I've been working on this for 5 years. This isn't something you just wake up one day and want to give it a go. I suppose you could if you wanted to. You don't know how far you'll get. It's a massive challenge for me personally to fly, but also I reckon the biggest challenge has actually been just the logistics and organising this, and then and getting people on board to help with it. So for the last 3 years since I set up the charity, it's been, I've been eating, sleeping, doing On a Wing and a Chair. My parents spent the last year and a half organising accommodation throughout Australia for this flight. So most of our accommodation has been donated. Plus also, my wife Linda, she's been working on this full time this year, and on this flight, she's working 16-hour days, more than 20-hour days at times. And there's a lot of other people involved to help make this happen. We don't have sponsorship at all, and I'm paying my own way. The support plane pilots are paying their own way. The charity is helping support this. We started off in Turin, down in Melbourne, Victoria, and we went down to Tasmania first, around the top end, and currently I'm in Karratha in Western Australia with the team, and we're staying with my sister here. So we're about to head off down to Carnarvon, down the west coast tomorrow. So we've been going over, over 3.5 weeks now, and it's been a absolutely exhausting and tough challenge.
So it's been 5 years since you've been planning this. Your first sector, did you have to pinch yourself to remind you that this is actually happening and it's not just a dream come true?
Well, I did in a way because, like myself and my wife Linda, like in the weeks leading up, we had very little sleep and we're just doing so much. I never felt as though it was reality until I took off. Yeah, and it wasn't until we started getting going that I realised that it's actually going to happen. It's been a journey of insight for myself about who I am and about other people. It's been such a huge learning.
What can all aviators around the world learn from your experiences from flying in this trip?
If you want to do a big trip like this and you want people involved, I think number one, you got to get people involved who are doing it for the right reasons. And number two, being a team, you got to get people that are the right type of person for the team. That's very important. But from the flying aspect, it comes down to planning. There's been some days that things haven't gone to plan.
So with the various unexpected surprises, weather causing delays, the little expected aeroplane going tech, whether it be changing a tyre or whatever it might be, or doing diversions, how much time have you therefore had to extend to your original schedule by?
Currently about 3 days behind schedule. I think we're actually doing very well, considering I thought we'd probably get delayed in Tasmania because trying to go down the west coast is notorious for bad weather, and we're just very lucky we didn't get delayed there. We ended up getting delayed near Innisfail, which is a place called Ingham. So all in all, we've only been delayed 3 days, which is very good going. But when we get down south, down to Perth, that's where you get some pretty tough weather, because you get the cold fronts that come through from the South Pole and the Arctic region, so Antarctic, and that's going to be challenging just to try and get through there without any delays.
And fingers crossed, you get lots of tailwind to make you go faster.
Well, that's true. I've been very lucky up the east coast of Australia. We've been very lucky most of the way around with tailwinds.
I wanted to just kind of recap on some of the things that you've said about your purpose for doing this, some of the reasons, and it seems that it's all about inspiring change. For example, the World Bank and the World Health Organization have suggested that there are more than 1 billion people around the world that experience disability. In order for you in Australia to inspire change and equalise opportunities, do you feel that Australia is doing enough to create those equal opportunities for all?
I think there's always a lot more that can be done. In any country, society, there's always more that can be done. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to get out there and change a few attitudes. So the next person that comes along, their life might be a bit easier. I'm all about educating people. I don't believe in discrimination. My view is people just don't understand, and so I feel that my role is, and with this flight and pretty much the last 25 years in a wheelchair, it's about educating people to actually show people that whether you've got a disability, you can achieve far more than what most people think. The more attitudes we can change and educate people, then that will open their minds up to help everyone else in this world. I've got two loves in life: my wife and my flying.
So after you finish this epic journey, what will you be focusing on? Will it be developing the charity or creating the next tour?
Oh, look, when after this is all over, I want to have the opportunity to get bored for a while, and then we'll wait and see. The charity, it'd be great to make it bigger than what it is, but it just really depends on lots of things, obviously funding and people, that sort of thing. So we'll wait and see.
What's your best advice to any pilot?
Well, whether it's to any pilot or to any person, I just say get out and live your dreams.
So what's been your favourite flying memory over the years?
Oh, God, that's a tough one because I think every time, a lot of these trips, I've always got a favourite memory. I think for me, when I first learned to fly, and especially flying around Bright and got my licence, that's probably one of the most amazing memories for me. And for me, flying, flying's freedom. In Australia here, you fly into the outback and you land at these really remote communities and towns and meet really interesting people. It's like an adventure.
You've certainly made me very proud that I've had the chance to speak to you, and you've certainly impressed me, and you are showing the world that disability is not a barrier to realising one's hopes and dreams. And so therefore, I would like to invite you one day to come to Europe and for the two of us to do all 31 countries together, and then maybe after that we can do the world.
No worries, who's paying for the fuel?
Oh, we'll beg, borrow and steal. I just wanted to thank you for sharing your amazing and powerful story, and I think what a wonderful team you are with Linda and the rest of the On a Wing and a Chair family. So keep it in the greens, and thank you very much.
No worries, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and never know, when I'm over in Europe, might be able to catch up.
I think the plane ride was super cool, extremely cool actually.